come here to chew bubble gum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubble.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media studios, broadcasting just 2 miles or so from the belly of the veritable bad and evil beast itself, the Bill Mill in Sacramento, California. I am broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. And so welcome to the saloon. You got to belly up to the bar. We've kept you a seat, and it's great to see you back. I got to say that Biff is going to be our bartender tonight. He pours with the best of them. And the lava lamp, as you can see, is lighted, but something's going on with it. It's not quite melting appropriately right now. I'm not sure I know what the issue or the problem is. Come on. I might have to replace the light. How sad is that? Oh, well. In any event, we don't water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask, one little thing, that you flush the handle to the damn toilet and tip your waitress. And tonight, folks, tonight is in fact a very special show. We have a very special guest, and we're going to call her up here in just a bit. We're going to give a little bit of an intro to her, but I wanted to, instead of giving a massive intro to her,
now. To automatically unblock your name and number for this call only and complete the call, press 1. To enter the telephone number you are calling from.
Okay, let's see if this works. There we go. Anyway, we have a special show tonight with just...
Hello, it's Lily.
With just one guest. It's Lily! Good evening to you, madame.
Hi, Mark.
It is great to hear you. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a little bit of a background to the folks who may not know you, and then we'll ask a question, and basically we'll be off to the races.
I know. We might even forget we're on radio. We'll be just like a chatting, right? Interview.
That's true. So I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we have the very distinct pleasure of speaking to Lily Tang Williams. She's a wonderful person that I happened to meet last year at the Freedom Fest in Las Vegas in 2016. And that was when, now, she was campaigning in Colorado for the U.S. Senate as a Libertarian. We at SHR, we interviewed her a number of times at the 2016 Freedom Fest, and she stopped by the booth to chat and take photos and whatnot. And I have to say, everybody at SHR, Sean, Clint, myself, anybody that was hanging around the booth, we knew that she was a special person. She was honest, forthright, really candid, a great speaker, and she was absolutely packed, jam-packed with motivation. So I also met Lily again now at the 2017 Freedom Fest in July this year, and she once again dropped by the booth. I have to tell you, Lily gives great hugs, by the way. And so I could go in depth into her background and CV because it's certainly a remarkable one. But instead, what I'd rather do is have her do that herself because, in truth, her background is the story itself. And so I contacted Lily to appear on the show because of the post that I wrote back on November 15th. And the title of that post was Millennials, Communism, and Freedom. And I was extremely disturbed when recent polls indicated that listen to this, millennials would rather live in socialist or communist nations than under capitalism. I found that not just disturbing, but bordering on insane and dangerous. Dangerous for this nation and potentially dangerous for the entire planet. Do the logical extension, as I say. So that's when I thought of Lily Tang Williams and her remarkable story. And this is the one that she told to us in Las Vegas during Freedom Fest. Now, I realized more than just about anybody else that I've met, she knew and knows the real value of freedom. And not in some arbitrary academic textbook, arm's length fashion that leftists experience today. Not like that at all. Lily has a story, and it's hers to tell, not me. So, folks, I'd like to welcome to the Berserk Bobcat Saloon, Lily Tang Williams. Thank you so kindly, madam, for being on the show tonight.
What a nice introduction, Mark. I really appreciate it. I think we're going to have a very good discussions tonight.
There's not one part of that introduction that was false. It's all true. And I thought, what you do before you do a show is you do what's called show prep. And I knew a lot of your background, but I didn't know all of it. And I thought, I can go on and on and on and on about your background. But like I said, your background and your where you grew up, that's the story itself. That's why it's yours to tell. So you were born in Chengdu. That's the capital of Sichuan province, if I'm not mistaken, in western China. And
correct. Yeah, that's like that's the province next to Tibet.
Oh, next. Okay. All right. Well, then, likely you probably didn't see Yetis. They're too far away. The biggest takeaway was that I got out of this was that you were born, and I think this is critical, you were born before the start of China's Cultural Revolution. So just let's start at the start. Tell us about growing up in China.
Well, I wish I was not born that time, but you couldn't control the birthday,
No, that's true.
And you are correct. I was born 2 years before the Great Cultural Revolution started by Mao. It was 1966 to 1976. So I was 2 years old, all the way to 12 years old. So 10 years of witness just the country, what it was like, how poor we were. Of course, we did not know we were poor. My parents lived in a community housing that paid by my dad's state factory. People might think that's wonderful, free community housing.
Yeah.
But it was pretty bad, Maybe just let you imagine 8 families share one bathroom. One for man, one for woman, a big giant hole on the ground,
Great.
Divided by a piece of wall in the middle. You can hear each other when they go to use the bathroom. Because it was community housing, nobody cared when the night bulb would bust. So because, nobody owned anything, nobody wanted to pay money for that one night bulb. It would be totally pitch black when I went to bathroom as a little girl. When my memory started, I was there probably from 1 year old until I was 16 in that community housing courtyard. I was so afraid of going to the bathroom. I was afraid I would fall backwards in the dark and would be buried by the human waste.
That's a visual.
I know you had to go there, find the hole, find the 2 little breaks, and trying to squat. And no lights. And if somebody has some money, they probably would get a flashlight or something. So I just try not to go to the bathroom at night. I was a little girl. That was my nightmare for so many years later. I still could not completely forget about that bathroom. And they were very, very stinky. Once a month, you would have a peasant come in, use 2 big wood buckets big buckets to dig them out and take to the farmland. And in the summer, bugs crawled everywhere. I was so afraid of anything crawling on the floor, even today, because those bugs. It just really gave me, the chills, the goosebumps. And then we have 8 feminists shared one faucet. You have to go to this middle of the location in the yard to go get your fresh water through one faucet. So when everybody got to cook, so you got to stand in line with your pots and pans, get water. So my dad is a very handy man. He's smart. He built a big concrete container in our outdoor kitchen for cooking, and just let me, the oldest child out of 3 children, to go there, carry a big bucket of water and dump into the container so we get stored water. We'll not be running out. We don't have to stand in long line. I was a pretty strong little girl, got little tiny muscles on my arms because I carry those water.
I bet you were.
and then in the winter, it was freezing cold. You have to wash everything by hands. We did not have, of course, any appliances, any washing machines. So I had to wash clothes by hands. And what we learned is also, warm up the water, then mix with some cold water, so you can then use soap, wash your clothes. Now, of course, when you rinse them, normally it's cold water. Then you hang them up. It was freezing in the winter. I got a frostbite in the winter. It was humid and cold. So after a while, the blood just won't move inside of my foot and get really, infected with a big swollen part of, like a tissue.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help scratch it. Once you scratch it, then you broke it and it gets infected. And I still have that scar on my left foot today because of the frostbite in Pergo or something like that. It just stays there forever. I just remember it was so cold. We did not have a mattress. We had just whatever padding you could do. And our floor was not concrete floor. It was mud floor. You could grow mushrooms in there. Like I literally saw mushroom growing inside of my mom and dad's apartment. And so it was really wet, cold. And in the summer, because we're at the lower part of the city location, that when the summer comes and flooding comes, that the water coming to inside the apartment, we have to all get up at middle of night to build a brick wall to stop water from coming into our apartment. That's the community housing we got. Of course, my parents work for state factories 6 days a week. I don't know how little they were paid, but I just remember we were always poor. My parents had to always borrow money, even to pay for our school tuitions. Don't you believe they tell you that under communism everything is free?
Oh,
my
yeah.
Parents had to pay. My parents had to pay for our tuition, my youngest brothers and child care. The fact that they keep me at home for 1 extra year in order to babysit my youngest brother, who is 5 years younger than me. I was 6, supposed to go to elementary school, 1st grade. My parents could not afford child care, so they bribed me with a foreign movie ticket to say, oh, we need you to stay home, otherwise we have to pay child care. And he's only 1 year old. Can you please do that for us? You're oldest, so you have a responsibility. And I cried 3 days. I wanted to go to school so bad. And this movie was good. It was Nazis, that's like a Chinese show Romania movie that fighting Nazis. And you get to see, for the movies back there, it was not jewelry because you could see foreigners kissing and hugging each other, And for Chinese, we were, not allowed. I mean, it was not really culturally correct or even under, Mao's regime. You're not supposed to touch each other, show public affection for each other. So you go watch foreign movies, see them kissing, like hugging each other. So I took the movie ticket. I still cried, and I told my mom that I will do my duty to stay home, babysit my baby brother. I was alone at home. You'd be child abused today.
Yeah,
I was
no kidding.
6.
Yep.
I was 6. So when I babysitted my little brother, the courtyard could be so quiet, and I got scared. Sometimes you hear the rats running on top of the, shabby roof and making noise, and I would just run to the middle of the yard, and my brother push him in the end of the bed, and he would be crying, and I will wait until the noise is gone, and I will go back to the room. But I did not think much of it. Just like I just had to do that. It was my duty. I was expected to be adult. Of course, I did not have any toys. I did not have any books, and no fun really. It's like nothing to do. Every morning, 6:00 a.m., the whole China is like a military camp. The big news speaker coming up and, say, long live Chairman Mao, and, talking about news and talk about all this government propaganda. And sometimes we'll play some revolutionary songs. And that's what the country was like during Cultural Revolution. Really loud speakers. You could not sleep in at all. Everybody had to get up, go to work, or go to school. So finally, I made to first grade, and I was so happy. It's like, now I can go to school. I can have books. I can learn how to write. And I was so motivated. And I was also smart enough to make 100% on all the subjects. And I made one critical mistake at the age of 7. At the age of 7, everybody was eager to join Young Pioneer, which is Mao's grassroots organization for elementary school students.
Okay.
I thought I was the best student. I would be first one to join, but I couldn't help it to tell my girlfriend to say, I bet I would be first group to join because, I'm the best student in the class. She reported to my teacher. And my teacher talked to me in her office and said, I'm not going to nominate you to join Young Pioneer because you are too confident. You're not humble like everybody else. And I said, well, that I only talked to one girlfriend, and and my parents agree with my teacher to say you should be humble. It's how you think. You think you're best, and you are not humble in your own mind. So I had to conform. I learned my lesson. My teacher humiliated me next day and criticized me publicly, said we're going to hold her back because she is too confident for individual confidence and expressions. And in our collective society, everybody got to act the same and feel the same. You got to feel, everybody's humble. So I did not get to join Young Pioneer for a year, but I have learned my lesson. I could not trust anybody, not my parents, not my friends, and I had to keep my life, basically what I truly feel and think, to myself. And 1 year later, I did join Young Pioneer, and I got rewarded for being good, to conform, and so moved up. I was a red child. Remember, in China, you have to be a red child. That means born into red class families, workers, peasants, revolutionary soldiers, and good officials. And in order to even wear a red scarf, some kids could never be allowed to do that if they were born into black families. Even if their grandparents were landowners, property owners, they'd be classified as black families. They couldn't join until you get up and to say, I denounce my family. I'm changing my last name. Then they might accept you as a part of the red class and let you to join. It was so sad. It was full of stories like that. And to give you a little background, I actually, my dad was orphan, but before he became an orphan, my grandfather was landowner and writing court papers for villagers in Sichuan. And so we could be black class if my grandfather was still alive that time. But he died when my dad was 1 year old, and for some mysterious disease, so that he had to sell his land, all the properties, treat himself, and still died. His wife with 6 children, with my dad, the youngest, had to work, on different farm jobs and got bitten by a dog, infected from dog bite. Then my grandmother died too from my father's side. So I never got to meet my grandparents. My dad was 5-6 years old when he lost both parents, become orphan. So his uncle adopted him and said, "Son, I don't have money for you to go to school. You need to work on the farm, feed yourself." And that's how my dad grew up in the villages. So he was dirt poor when Communist Party recruited him to go to cities to work for the government, pay him salaries. Then later make him a Communist Party member. So my dad thought, hey, that's cool. I can make salary now. I don't have to worry about food to every meal. That he went to Chengdu, eventually met my mother. So I was kind of lucky, I guess, become a red child. So I could even wear red scarf, later become a red guard. When you become middle school, then you could join red guard. So the whole 10 years of Cultural Revolution, what is it like? It's like we have to just chant. When you go to school every day, you chant in the morning to say, "Long live Chairman Mao." You hold the Chairman Mao little red books and remember how to recite them. And "Long live a party," then sing a revolutionary song, and then we start to do Chinese and math. And it's very common. And then you come home, you write your diaries, you confess to Chairman Mao in your diary. Did you think about something really incorrect today? Or did your neighbor, your family say anything not on the same page with the party? Any family secrets you like to confess?
Oh,
so
great.
Basically, that system turned everybody into potential spies, enemies. And your loyalty is totally, rested with the party, the state, and Chairman Mao. It was so sad because there are lots of stories, families breaking up. They don't trust each other. They denounce each other. Some commit suicide. And that's the environment we live in. And so I, think about doing that for quite many years like that. Chairman Mao was basically like my God. I could listen to him talking to me from clouds. I could see his face smiling at me from the fire, like we had to burn wood fire in order to stir fry cooking. It's like we were so indoctrinated, singing those songs every day, write diary, confess him every day. It's like so communism become like our religion. Mao was like a God, and I could see him smiling at me from the clouds during daytime. And it just, I was raised as Buddhist. My mom, my grandmother were Buddhist, but we were not allowed to practice any other religion. You would get prosecuted. You would go to labor camp. Temples were shutting down, and cultural relics destroyed. All the famous statues, got destroyed, and all the monks went to re-educational camps with other, Christian pastors and even the intellectuals, like principals and professors who were dissidents, not totally agree with the party. Then they all were going to labor camps, and the Red Guard denounced them every day, going to criticize meetings every day. There are lots of pictures you can see on internet even today, how Red Guard just become so violent. And what I'm talking about, the generation, like my uncle generation, 10 years older than me, and they basically become so violent, and schools were shutting down, no more school to go to, and the generals were really worried. So they finally get Mao to say, hey, time to stop this violence, and Mao wants to get rid of the young people he used to purge his political enemies. Then he tells them, time to go to countryside, down the mountains, learn from the peasants, to be re-educated. And, of course, young kids were so naive. They said, oh, now, great, we can get paid by the state for salaries. And my grandma lost her 3 sons overnight. You only get a chance to keep one youngest child in the family. So my youngest aunt stayed home with my mother's side grandparents. And then, 3 uncles had to go to countryside for a decade, for 10 years. And never graduate from high school, don't have any diploma, no skills. They had to actually to throw a big attempt for mass suicide in order to scare the state government to say, let us come home. After 10 years, they were used, they were silenced, and they finally realized, oh, you know what, our life is not going to be like this forever. We need to go back to, where we come from. We were used, but they were silenced also. So they finally say, hey, we're going to just kill ourselves if you don't let us come home in the cities. So
Lily, it almost sounds cult-like. It sounds similar to a cult where there has to be equality for all. Everyone must be the same. Everyone must be fair. By the way, folks, we're listening to Lily Tang Williams. She ran for U.S. Senator in Colorado under the Libertarian Party in 2016. And let's see, we've got about 3 more minutes until the bottom of the hour break. But when you let me ask you this: your father joined the Communist Party, but it sounds to me like he did so out of a need for survival, not an investment in the philosophy itself. Would that be accurate?
Well, he was not even educated, and the only thing you knew that time was the Communist Party. We did not have any other choices. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the whole country propaganda was about loyal to the party. Mao and the party saved the country, saved the poor people like my dad, gave him a job, gave him a salary, and he was recruited and said, hey, if you want to move up and, you are poor and, you can join the party and then we will train you, we'll promote you. And my dad, of course, was just living on a farm, with his own hands, surviving from one meal to next. So he didn't think of much. I mean, they trying to find those young people to recruit. But the story is, though, my dad never truly, get along with his Communist Party bosses. In his state factories, they treat him like dirt. People like him, no power, no education, just a working class. In theory, they think working class are the best for the country, equality and all that stuff, and red class. Right. But it's not true in reality. Those officials with power always insult you and do not have respect for you because my dad has hot temper. Typical Sichuan people, they call the like Western Texas. It's like the first people to rebel, last people to submit. So if my dad was not treated with respect, he will fight back against his bosses. He will yell at them back, and they want to get rid of him. So they said, Mr. Tang, why don't you go to another place to work for us? And when the Chinese state factory send you to somewhere else to work, it's you by yourself. It's not your entire family. That means my mom will be home with us, 3 kids. My dad said, I cannot do it, boss. They said, well, it's good for you to do this for the country. You got to make a sacrifice, otherwise you got to retire. So basically, either he chooses job with about 2 days boss right away, or he had to be forced to retire earlier. So my dad that time, of course, family first to him. He said, oh, maybe I can find another job to do and I can work for myself. And that's when that Deng Xiaoping opened up the market so people could work for themselves. But my dad could not get a license. They told my dad, you're retired, you have retirement income. We're not going to give you a license. He didn't have money to bribe the officials, so he basically started business in the dark streets of Chengdu nights, peddling bicycles, tricycles, carrying passengers in order to make extra money to keep families fit. And got robbed and got, nose broken a couple of times. And government officials confiscated his equipment. He had to raise money, start over again. So my dad is really my hero because without him working like that illegally in Chengdu, I probably could never finish my college. I went to law school for 4 years on my dad's illegal income. Think about that.
Yeah, I know. That's true. Lily, we're going to have to break for a second, but when we come back, I want to ask you, you mentioned something called the Cultural Revolution. We're going to take a break. Folks, we're listening to Lily Tang Williams on the SHR Media Network. You're listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. And like I say, when we come back, I'm going to ask Lily about the Cultural Revolution in China and what does that really mean? Folks, thanks for listening. Thanks for listening live on the SHR Media, shrmedia.com. You can watch us live on the SHR Media Facebook page. You can watch us live on the SHR Media channel on YouTube. And please, hang around and come right back. We'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Times are dark. The people are misled by corrupt politicians, lied to by establishment media, and deceived by the false messages of Islam. A nation looking for direction needs a guide. It needs a man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me on Spreaker, SHR Media, Pundit Press Radio, and YouTube through the SHR Media page for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because the truth is not always pleasant.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians,
You got a business. That you didn't build that.
a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless and hope to the hopeless. Sackhead Sean.
Dude, I'm not saying cow for the stupid promo.
Sackhead Clint.
All good friends of ours usually show up drunk.
Also starring Sacco as the producer.
I'm a little bit drunk, 'cause I'm drinking.
They are the Sackheads Radio Show. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on SHRmedia.com.
The Bloviating Zeppelin. He's big-footed enough radio shows to last a lifetime, courtesy of Sean, Clint, Ken, and Jersey Joe. Now it's time for him to waddle on his own 2 feet via the glorious SHR Media. Gird thy loins for the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Coming soon to Ossicles near you. Excelsior.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are in fact listening to the SHR Media Network. It's the Bloviating Zeppelin in Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon right here on the SHR Media Network. Live and direct from the SHR Media studios, in our sumptuous studios, and my lava lamp that for whatever reason doesn't seem to be working real well right now. How disappointing that is. We have been talking for the first half hour and the rest of, basically the rest of the show, if she can hang on, to Lily Tang Williams, who was a candidate, a nominee for the Libertarian Party for senator from Colorado in 2016. She was born in China, and she's been telling us her story. I asked her before the break, I said, some people are not necessarily familiar with what was termed the Cultural Revolution in China. So, Lily, welcome back, and can you tell us basically what was the Cultural Revolution in China?
Well, Mao started in the 50s and that carrying on all the way to the Cultural Revolution. Basically, he wants people to get rid of four old. Four old means old culture, old custom, habits, and old books, and there's another old, but everything becomes old. Like, for example, if you have beautiful Chinese silk dresses from old China, that's a part of the four olds. So the Red Guards will go to door to search for old clothing, old furniture, old books that you carry over from old China before the communists took over, and they want you to turn them over. If you don't turn them over, they found them by the time they do door-to-door searches.
Holy crap!
You will be in trouble. Getting on blacklist, go to criticize meetings for public, basically education and denouncement, and you have to write a self-criticism, and you will be called so-called revisionaries, counter-revolutionary, all those names, that the name calling of those people who will not conform to say, get rid of the four olds. And that's why sometimes I feel so scared when I see our current colleges start to, being so hard on freedom of speech and freedom expression. They would start to also burn statues and trying to silence the professors who are not in agreement with them.
Yeah, we are going to get to that. You bet.
Yeah, those young people actually reminded me what the Cultural Revolution Red Guards did.
Yeah, we definitely will get to that, because I'm going to read a reference to the article that I wrote, which is why I had you on in the first place. Now, you mentioned that you went to college in China. So what was that like? And did you have to apply to get in? How did you get into college?
So to get back to the timeline, I was 12 when Cultural Revolution ended. Because Mao died, 1976. I was 12. I was still in middle school, and we cried our eyeballs out. And then 2 years later, the party came out to tell us, sorry, guys, Cultural Revolution was a mistake. Those were 10 years political, cultural chaos, violence, it was a mistake. And Mao was human. He made a mistake.
No.
My generation, my uncle generation, my parents' generation, we were just so shocked. What do we believe now? He was like our God, and especially my generation up to that 12 years old age, that was the only thing we knew. Is Mao, Mao, Mao every day. So that you can see some of my old pictures on my Facebook page and my website. I looked so sad. We truly feel sad, and it's like lost our father, and then we did not know what to believe anymore. So by the time I was 14, when they said Mao made a mistake, but then also I saw another opportunity and opening up to me. Now the universities were reinstated, and all the schools were reopened, and everybody now has got this new favor, new interest. Now it's time to go to college, because the Cultural Revolution destroyed all the schools and colleges were closed. And so I was 14. I had 3 years to study really hard to pass 3 days nationalized college entrance exam in order to get picked by the state to go to college. So that was my new dream, my old religion, all gone. I was lost soul. So I said, I'm going to get the best education I could, because my parents are not educated. I blame our poverty on them, because they could not move up. They could not become officials and high-level party,
right.
And leaders. So we had to live on food ration coupons, which is a lot lower than some other higher officials. And, like, for example, 2.2 pounds of pork per month for family of 5, but we're starving all the time.
Yeah, that's not going to go very far.
Yeah, you have to go to, you have to use the food stamps from government to buy sugar, wheat, flour, bag of potatoes, 5 pounds. You stand in line in the morning to buy them. talking about long nights, and I sure feel the pain of people today in Venezuela, And so by the time I could go to college, I studied very hard. Basically, that was the only dream I was focused on. I passed it. I finished top, and I got accepted by the top 5 Chinese universities. And so I picked Shanghai because I was born in Chengdu. I wanted to go somewhere near the coast, open, more Western, more information exchange. Mm-hmm. And I become total rebellious teenager. You had to apply even before you took your exam. So I was a little bit too confident again. I picked all top 5 Chinese universities.
Damn you.
I'm sure.
Jeez, what's with the confidence? How dare you?
I know. I was too confident. At least nobody criticized me. My neighbors were laughing at me. Oh, yeah, her parents cannot even read illiterate, and she wants to go to best university to study law. The reason I wanted to study law because when I was 16, my favorite teacher got sick. I visited him as class president. He told me he was a fresh college graduate in the 50s. The party wanted them to give true feedback, and he was naive. He gave true back with his friends. Then they were sent to labor camps, ruining his health. Now he's just old and always all kind of problems. And he told me something I just can never forget. He said, our country is ruled by men, a few men, not ruled by law. And I said, I want to study law there. I'm going to change China to a rule of law society. Rule of law to me is so important. So we can have truly justice. And so I went to study law as 17 years old. I just turned 17. I traveled 3 days in a hard-seat train ride from Sichuan to Shanghai. It was flooding in the middle, so I had to take a transfer in hard seat. It was a very hard trip. By the time I reached Shanghai, I was totally pooped, and looked so pale, because just the lack of food, water, and sleep for 3 days. And I was so excited, I'm going to, study law. And the first couple weeks, I become very disappointed because we were told by professors, you want to study law, huh? What is the law's purpose? It was Soviet Union model they used. They told us the law is a governing class tool to use to govern the masses. We're just masses. We're not individuals. We're just masses. So it was party's tool to govern the masses. Oh, it's like, what bullshit is that? It's like what kind of dream I'm going to have in China? So I basically become 4 years of rebellious teenager in law school. I escaped classes. I escaped curfews. We had a curfews. 6 o'clock, get up, doing exercise, go to class, listen to news, eat breakfast. 10 o'clock, nights off, go to bed. I would not go to bed on time. I would go out with friends, look at stars. We were 19 years old, I remember, looking at the stars outside the campus in the countryside. Me and 2 friends, and we were whacked by campus police. We call the police sticks. What are you doing, kids here? We're to look at the stars. Say, well, your curfew, yes. Okay, what do you study? They want to find out who you are, where you live. And they threatened us, if this happen again, they're going to report to the department chair about us. Then we might get a severe punishment. So he gave us one chance, don't do this again. And, with the yes, of course. But, of course, inside of me, I was so upset. It's like, do they have to really hit my butt with that sticks? That hurts. Plus, when I go back to dormitory, the gate was locked. We had to climb over, jump down. I must be a little bit wild little girl for my age because, you have to really climb up and jump and be a little bit more rebellious. And then one time in college, the Chinese soccer team won some victory. We started a bonfire in the field to celebrate the victory. Uh-oh. Yeah. When you give college students a chance to celebrate, to start fire, they will. They will, just like today. So, but we were at the beginning celebrate victory for Chinese soccer team. But later that victory celebration turned to something, changed my life. It's like the first time we protested. We were yelling, screaming for freedom, democracy, human rights. And we walk around in the neighborhood and yell loud. It's like the first time you hear yourself yelling out of your lungs. I did not realize that I can have such a strong voice because we're oppressed for so long. Everything was yes, man, yes, teacher, yes, Chairman Mao, yes, party. We were little slaves. First time in college, I could express myself. I could yell and scream out of my own lungs and hear my voice. And my roommate almost reported to police because I did not go to my dormitory until 2 a.m. And she said, "Where did you go?" I almost called cops. You're supposed to come home by 10. I said, "Wow, this changed my life. We protested today." My face was red. I was very excited. And she said, "Go sleep. Don't do this again. You're crazy." That's what she told me. But I could never forget that night. And I got a picture to even show people that it was black and white picture. So the cultural revolution ended, but the communist rule oppression continued. During the college years, we were told by Department of Education, you cannot wear blue jeans, you cannot have your hair down below your shoulders, and you cannot do this, do that. We could not have dancing parties. But we rebelled all that. And so finally they got tired of dealing with us and arguing with us. We have to get into the gate to go to school. We would wear all kind of hairstyle, all kind of clothing, and they couldn't find it with every student when you have large numbers. So they finally say, okay, you can have a party now. You can have dancing parties. You can have hair laid down. I mean, that's when first time we learned how to dance. We had to use our boombox practice after 10 o'clock at night. All the lights went off. We will be doing that in the hallway. They have to leave lights on the hallway so we can run to bathroom. And girls and boys' buildings are separate so that we would hear each other actually at night. We were dancing, practicing dancing. Then we could go to dancing parties and meeting new friends. And I learned words. I learned disco, We were 20 years behind U.S. disco to move your body freely. What a liberation. I never knew, you could have so many body moves. You feel so good with, that kind of music, and so you can move any way you see fit. It's a sense of liberation. So my college 4 years was great for me to discover who I am, what I want. Another event brought me to America is because I met a college exchange student from USA. He told me, Yes. He. I don't know if I told you this. We made a dancing party. He said, "Lily, come to my dorm. I want to show you something from America." I said, "Okay." To go to say foreign student, I had to register, my address, my major, who I'm going to say, what I'm going to talk about, time in and time out. We were watched, both sides. So to go to his dormitory, which is housing all the foreign students, and I had to register first time. And he showed me a pocket constitution. Imagine that.
Yes.
Up to that point, I had no clue about America. I just heard America is a free country, but did not know the details. And he read to me the Declaration of Independence, and talked to me that all men are created equal. My English wasn't that great, but I could understand those simple words. And I said, I have natural rights. What do you mean? Always heard rights as community rights, group rights, and collective rights. And he told me that no, you have individual rights. It does not matter where you live, what race, what skin color, what nationality. As a human being, you were born with this unalienable natural rights that not given to you by your government, but given to you by your Creator. And I said, wow, it's like my light bulb just came on. I mean, I have a life. I deserve the life. I can live my life with the rights. I don't have to live for somebody else, like for public goods, for the state. I'm always told to make a sacrifice for others, for the state, for the collective society. Now I was told I have individual rights. So I go back to visit him a few times. I did not register. I refused to register. I would just wait until the old lady goes to bathroom or go to get her tea, hot tea. I would go sneak upstairs very quietly. And,
Lily, I have to ask you a question. Do you still have, by the way, that pocket constitution? Do you still have that?
No, he actually he kept it. I just remember that it was a paper, small, and then he read to me, because that time I think that he knew he's not supposed to really pass out to students. He might get into trouble himself. It was all in English, but he just talked to me. Then he read to me. When I went back a few more times, he told me about the Constitution. You get to vote for your representative. You have a separation of powers. And I was most shocked by the Second Amendment. You can't have guns. Wow, it's like in China, I have never touched guns up to that point. It's like only police and soldiers and government work, they have guns. And we were always taught that we cannot have guns as Chinese citizens because society will collapse if we all have guns. That's what we're told. So we were disarmed like slaves. So we even did not know it. Not the Chinese today did not know it. So that he really put something in my head. There's a country called America. If I have to leave China someday, this is a free country. I have to come. They have no kings and queens. They have representatives elected by people. And not like Europe, they still have, queens and a different kind of system. So finally, basically that day finally came after I graduated from college. I realized I could not achieve my dream in China. And they're trying to oppress me. They're trying to make me to conform. They're trying to review my lecture notes. And I was one of the 5 students out of 60 offered a faculty job in law school. And I wanted to stay in Shanghai. I had a boyfriend in Shanghai. I also thought Shanghai is more open, more Western than Sichuan. Sichuan is inland, more isolated. So I wanted to stay in Shanghai. I took the job as a faculty member. And then my life changed. My college life ended as soon as I become faculty member. They put pressure on me to say, if you're going to teach in law school, you have to join Communist Party.
Okay.
Even though, because that time they said that everybody has to be on the same page and loyal. Otherwise, they question your loyalty if you're going to teach law, which is the governing class too, to govern the people. You better to belong to the right party. So then they put me on probation to watch me how I behaved. And I guess I was a little bit nonconformist to them. I could no longer say kumbaya to Communist Party. We had to do weekly political studies, and I just couldn't say anything. I was silent. So I get criticized for that. It's like, say something. What do you think about the party policies? Are you going to try to understand and promote it and teach your students? I guess I just wasn't happy. I wasn't a believer anymore. My mind was open. So my Communist Party boss just, constantly pick on me. And I just thought, this is life I want. I'm just going to become professor and stay in this university and do what they want me to tell you all my life. Can I be truly happy in China? Can I really achieve my dream to have a rule of law? I cannot even say what I wanted in a law school.
Lily,
and teach students want it.
Lily, let me ask you a question. I say that there are certain critical points in one's life when something occurs and your life, when it's going one particular direction, all of a sudden it changes and it moves another direction. Would I be correct in saying that pretty much the turning point, one of the major turning points of your life was when that student gave you a copy of the Pocket Constitution and read it to you? Is that a pivotal point in your life? Or is that the pivotal point in your life?
Yes. That's the point of my life. Really changed my future life forever. He put something in my head that I cannot ignore it. I cannot
freedom.
Just forget about what he told me. I have rights as a human being, as an individual. And there is a free country who will guarantee those rights. That's the United States of America. I had a friend who left earlier years, like before me, come to the United States. They wrote to me. They sent me pictures. And I was just so, in love with those pictures. America was beautiful. I think one guy sent me a picture of a ranch with cows and cattle and mountains in the background. He looked so happy. He also told me, I know your personality. You will love this country. It will suit you better. You should try to come. So I had to basically change my course to say how I'm going to leave. It's not that easy to leave China.
Oh, no.
You need to get your communist boss permission for you to even go to apply for passport. They have to release you. And that's exactly the same boss I was fighting against.
Oh, great.
So, yes,
well,
now I have to change my strategy.
Oh, yeah, that makes it really convenient that you have to fight the person. You have to ask the person that really doesn't like you for permission to leave China. Folks, we got another about 3 minutes or so before the top of the hour break. We are listening to Lily Tang Williams, who was the 2016 Libertarian candidate for U.S. Senate out of Colorado. And her story is an amazing story of how she transitioned from China to the United States. So we got about another 3 minutes. So you had to petition that individual to leave China?
Yes, I call him Professor Zhang. But before I even petition, even dare to try, I had to change my attitude.
Uh-oh.
I had to become fakely active again in my political study meetings. I have to butter him up, do whatever he expect me to say, to do in order to make him happy, so make him to have new opinion of me. And when same time, I was studying English quietly and apply for U.S. universities quietly. I found I had to find an American citizen sponsor because I didn't have money, and they had to sign paperwork for me. I had to take TOEFL exam. My English wasn't good enough even. I had to do all that preparation work for about 2 years. Then, same time, butter him up, make him, have a new opinion of me, and fake it. When I get my mind to do something, I can do it. I just have to bite my tongue to do it. And so finally, when I get accepted by University of Texas at Austin to go to graduate school, I present him the notice, the enrollment notice to say, I got accepted. I would like to go to the United States to study for master's degree so I can do my job better. This on my own time, my own money. And, after several tries, he said he would think about it. He did say I had some improvements. And so I don't know if he tried to also get rid of me or not, but he did think about it after 3 trying, talking to me. And he said, well, I will let you to go to apply for passport if you sign this agreement. The agreement is that I promise to go back to China after my master's degree.
Aha.
Or
catch.
Or number one, that they're gonna kick me out of party. Oh, I didn't care about that.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
fine.
Oh, that's so terrible.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not that.
Yes, right. But second one is tough. Second one is that they are going to send my personnel file to Chengdu from Shanghai. To give you ideas about personnel file, it started when you're a student. As a student file, it tracks you everything, your extended family, your school behaviors, your mental health, your behaviors, rewards, and GPAs, and political activity. Everything about you is a secret. My parents and I were never allowed to say what's inside of my student file, and the picture every year updated, so they know what you look like. And it's lifetime tracking, basically. And when I graduate, it become personnel files, stay with your employer. Your employer and government all can share those files except you and your family. So if the student file become personnel file, then stay with you until you die, and goes with where your future job is. So if my personnel file is in Shanghai, that means I'm an official resident of Shanghai, can go there, get a job, and work there, have a benefit. But if they kick me out of Shanghai, send my personnel file to Chengdu, I can only go back to Chengdu to work, to live, without any, Shanghai benefits or official resident status. So that means I could never go back to Shanghai to teach or to get other good Shanghai jobs. I had to stay in Chengdu. They still have that system today, even though people can travel around, get a different job at different province. But the personnel file stay with you to determine your official status as a resident.
Lily, we're going to have to take a break for right now. It's the top of the hour. Folks, you're listening to Lily Tang Williams on Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct on the SHR Media Network. Now, when we come back, Lily's going to transition from China to the United States. And when we come back, I have a couple of questions for her, because how could you give up the country where you were born and the terrible conflicts that must have occurred in your mind when you left the country where you were born and moved to a country you've never been to before? An amazing progression. Folks, we're going to go to a break. Stay right here, and we'll be right back. Thanks for listening.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads radio show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reaver Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
And you are, in fact, listening to SHR Media. It's the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, live and direct from the SHR Media studio, just a few miles from the belly of the beast in Sacramento, California, where we are broadcasting behind enemy lines in what I term occupied California. How long to be occupied? Well, that remains to be seen. Folks, we're talking to Lily Tang Williams, whom I met at Freedom Fest in Las Vegas in 2016 when she was running for Senate, U.S. Senate, out of Colorado as a Libertarian candidate. And those who may not know, Freedom Fest is a celebration of all things involving freedom. And many of the people that come there are, in fact, libertarians. And I'm a registered independent, but I have a lot of libertarian in me. And that's how I met her. And then I met her again this year when SHR went back to Freedom Fest in 2017. And as I said before at the beginning of the show, Lily she gives great hug. So, Lily, you were in China. You decided that you wanted to go to the United States. I have obviously you were approved for that, but you had to sign a piece of paper that said that you were going to return. It was a huge decision to leave your homeland. I'm sure that you were torn, but I have to ask you a question. Do you remember what it felt like when the plane pulled up to the jetway, the door opened, you grabbed your things, you walked out to the jetway, and all of a sudden there you were. You were in the airport, in the terminal, and your feet were on U.S. soil. What were you thinking?
Up I had from Shanghai was Japan. All of a sudden, when about 1 hour later, I was in Japan. And first time, of course, I took a commercial airline like that. I look at down there with the landscape, the ocean.
Oh yeah.
And you saw the Japan island actually. Then landing in Japan, all of a sudden everybody was, bowing to me, saying Japanese to me. They were so polite. The culture was so different. It's like wow. It's like I really left China. Like I'm at a different country now.
Yep.
Then I get on the airplane. It was long flight to Denver, and I actually got airsick. Unfortunately, I never took airplane that long, and I think I took an old-fashioned Russian airplane one time. Was very noisy, because we were poor, couldn't afford a flight.
Right.
And I was airsick. And then by the time I got to Austin, Texas, I was probably green. I was really, I threw up quite a few times. And the scary part, though, it's not my sickness, Mark. The scary part is that I did not know how I'm going to support myself.
Yeah.
I had $100. All I had was $100 in my pocket. I did not have money anyway. The government regulate you to say you can only take out $100 to go to abroad that time. I had to raise money from my friends, and they gave me Chinese yuan, and I go to exchange into U.S. dollars. And that time was like 1 to 8 or something like that. So U.S. dollars was 1 equal to 8 Chinese yuan. And I gave some of the money I raised to my parents because they were very poor. They were in debt. I said, Dad, my dad was I think he got robbed, public bus. He lost lots of cash for that month. He was, tearing up, and before I left and told me what happened, he said, I could not tell your mom. And she will freak out. We'll have no food money. So I gave my dad some money I raised for my friends. I kept a list of my friends who gave me money. And I told them I will do well in this country. I will become rich. I will pay you back.
Great.
And, so still, I had $100 total. Means everybody 10 here, 10 there. And but my graduate school cost a lot more than that. I did have American sponsor. Mm-hmm. I would live in his house, and he probably would feed me. I would do housework and cooking and cleaning, but I still did not know how to pay for graduate school until I got to Austin, Texas. I went to my sponsor next door neighbor's house, and I said I'm too sick not to go there. My sponsor said, "That's your dean of school social work. Whole family wanted to meet you." And she gave you a waiver to go to her school. I did not take GRE, which is a graduate school test, and because my English wasn't good enough, I said, okay, I'll go say hello. And but I was really sick, so I showed up at the neighbor's house, and here she was, gave me a rose. So welcome to Austin, Texas. And my English wasn't good enough. I smiled and I said hello, and then she introduced me to her family. And John was behind, his mother. And so I met my husband today. Like the first night I arrived at Austin, Texas. I guess some people don't believe in fate. We don't know how to explain that. He was single for many years and just waiting. Like I don't know what he was waiting for. and a girl to show up, and a girl show up actually deliver myself, to his feet, and after I suffered so many years in China, and not even mail-in bride, right? He did not pay for it. So I met John, and he was nice to me. He wanted to show me the campus next day. My English was so bad I couldn't understand him. He took me to dinosaur museum next day. Oh, I remember just so many kind of dinosaurs, swords here, swords there, and I had a jet lag, and I was still recovering from my air sickness. And later I said, I just want to go home sleep. And he was very nice, very understanding, and so I found out Texas people were so nice, so warm to me. My English wasn't so good. Professors were trying to help me out. I barely made it. First semester, my conditional enrollment says you have to make a GPA 3.0 minimum in order not to get kicked out of graduate school, because I was conditional enrollment student because I did not take GRE, and my TOEFL wasn't good enough. And but the thing though, his mom told me first night, I got you a part-time research assistant job. I say, oh, I don't know what to do. I said, I don't know what to do. She said, well, I'm an industrial psychologist. You would just do research for me and check my numbers, make sure numbers are correct. Oh, I know how to check numbers, so I just match them. So but because of that, my heart just dropped, and I just so relaxed because that job, I will be paying in-state tuition, not international student tuition, and I also would even get a part-time job with benefits, with some healthcare benefits. And I was like, thank goodness, thank God. It's like, this is a great country. Look, first night I came here, it's just like, wow, there's all the magic's happening. It was like good news. So it just shocked me. And then I would be living in my sponsor's house next door, ride with mom, his mom every day to go to school because I didn't have a car and there was no bus. So we did that for a while until later John and I started dating. And I got my own apartment on the campus. And I can just walk to school. I got my first apartment was an efficiency apartment. I still remember like $200 a month for everything included. And with my $500 a month research assistant salary, I saved for first 3 months. I pay off all my debt. Remember, I told you I had $100 come to this country,
right?
But I owe my American sponsor $1,200. Air ticket, the TOEFL exam fees, admission costs, and all that stuff, and also my friends. I owe some of my friends money. So I saved the first 3 months by meeting with the American sponsor. And, cooking, cleaning, exchange for room and board. I use money to pay off my debts. That feels so good. It's like, now if I just keep my job and I can actually start save money and move into my own apartment, then I could walk. I didn't have to rely on other people's transportation. So it was very scary to leave my family behind because my English wasn't good enough, no money, and my families were worried about me. They all were crying. It's like the first time when I went to Shanghai at 17, they were crying at the train station to see me, first one ever to go to college and leave home. And then first one to go to the United States, leave home, so far away now, even further away. But I just feel in my heart, I had to do this. I cannot be happy in China. I gotta pursue my future, my freedom. And I always, wanted something a lot better, just a career, making money until you die. It's not my path. I want to live free, have a happy life. And America is the country I should come because I know that the people here have guaranteed rights. Of course, I was being naive about that, and not many people really worship Constitution today, even not our politicians, Yeah. But at that time, I did not know. I thought this is the country I got to come. And I had a wonderful graduate school years in Texas, professors wonderful, and I had the students who become my friends. They helped me to write the papers and explain to me the lectures, and because I was struggling with just cultural language barriers. And after 3 years, I got my graduate degree. Before that, I married John, And,
okay, just stop right there just for a second. I got to ask you this question. Now, John was a member of the family that sponsored you, if I'm not mistaken.
No, he was the son of my sponsor's neighbor.
Sponsor's neighbor, okay.
Yeah, and happened to be the dean of the school I went to in UT Austin.
Okay. I have to ask you this question. By the way, folks, we're listening to Lily Tang Williams. She was the Libertarian nominee for U.S. Senate out of Colorado in 2016. She's got a great story to tell, but Lily, I have to ask you, with your husband, John, how did you know, or when did you know, he was the right guy for you?
Well, because I could not chase him away. I told him we're dating, that I told him I was not serious and we should just have fun and date because I said you are white, I'm Chinese. All my families expect me to marry Chinese. They think Americans are not loyal to their families. They will desert you when you're old and ugly, and all that stuff. I told John, and but John, he will not go away. He just said, "Let's convince your family I'm just like a Chinese, just looks different." That's what he said. And he was smart. He told me that to tell my family all about his family. His mom, dad, been married for so many years, got 4 children. So I had to have a long letter explain to my parents. I'm dating this guy because Chinese parents are very strange.
Uh-huh.
When I was young, they forbidden me from dating. They say you got folk school. So I never told them anything about my dating relationships until I turned 24. Then they start to worry about it. It's like, how come you still don't have any personal relationship yet? That's a very tricky word. They even don't say boyfriend, fiancé. They just say, well, how is your personal relationship going? And I said, well, to tell you the truth, I'm dating this guy, but, he's American. I send the pictures and tell my family about each member of John's family members, what they do. And so they said, okay, you can date him, but don't marry him until you come back to China. Bring him here, we'll check him out. I said, I can't. I said, I cannot. I said, I can't. I'm a foreign student. If I go to China, I can be stopped. I can be stopped and trapped in China, can never come back. I don't have a guarantee to come back, basically, I told them. So my uncle, who is my favorite uncle, who used to be a rape girl, he got a sad story to tell, but he is a more respected family member. He got a family meeting together to discuss our relationship. Said, well, my Chinese name is Wrong, like a water lily. Say, trust Wrong. She's smart. She will pick the right person, and we needed to trust her. She can marry herself out and then bring him home. Then she will have a guarantee to go back to the United States. So basically, with their blessing from China, thousands of miles away, I say yes to John. I marry myself out with an American sponsor as my acting father, American godmother acting like my mother at my wedding, and they gave me away. So I married John. I took John to China in 1990. I think in 1990 we got married. 1991 I took him to China. But I was 3 months pregnant already that time. So it was a hard trip because I had to carry a baby inside.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
I got to ask you another question. Now, you said you took your master's degree. I think you said you took your master's degree at the University of Texas in Austin, and then I read that it was in the School of Social Work. Now, what did you intend to do with that degree in social work?
Well, it was mystery to me. I met this sponsor in Chinese law school in university. He was a University of Texas journalism department professor. The reason he asked me to go to UT Austin, I said, get me out. I need to get out of China. He said he's willing to help me any way he can. And he talked to his next door neighbor, who is dean, to say, we need to help this Chinese girl get out of China. She's not happy there. She's really smart. And so basically, I had no choice in majors. They decided I'm going to this school so the dean can help me to waive my GRE and even later offer me a part-time job to survive, to pay my bills. And so by the time I went to apply for my U.S. visa, the consular officer told me, social work school, do you know what it is about? I just made something up. I said, I know. I want to help people. I just said I want to help people.
Okay.
That works. I studied a little bit. Yeah, that worked. So still 3 trips to the American consulate. They gave me a visa. I had no idea what it was about. It is a very liberal major and school. I have to tell you, though, the professors and students were wonderful to me. They were warm to me. I made a friend. I just disagree with them about their policies. When I was a quiet foreign student, just doing my studies and pass tests, they were okay. But when I become like a last year student, my English was good enough. I could participate class discussion that time, and so I would disagree with them. Like when they were very compassionate, they want to have more money for different minority groups and stuff like that, which I understand. They were truly compassionate people. But I just asked them a question. Well, what do you think how this will affect whole society? And they look at me, it's like, Lily, are you Republican? I said, no, I'm just a foreign student. I said, I'm just asking this question. You know, we have to look at the whole society and the whole big picture, not just small individual special groups, you know. And so we had some disagreement, of course. And my mother-in-law, is just an industrial psychologist, administrator. After I married her son, I couldn't work for her anymore. I had to go work for another professor. And she wasn't really, that time I think the schools were not really that hardcore leftist. We were all very nice, and we can express ourselves and help each other out. And I did become a social worker after I get my master's degree for 2 years. I work with dysfunctional families and children, and one time in hospitals and home health agencies. I did see some of the people who were in this system, what their life is like. I become attached to my my clients and families. It's sometimes it's really depressing job because you have to worry about your clients, and there's only so much you can do for them. So I was a social worker, got my master's degree, but very quickly after that, we later went to Hong Kong. So I basically did not do social work long. I went to Hong Kong with my husband as expats. I worked for international corporations in Hong Kong doing international trade, and that's where my, later explained to me like how I become self-employed because I wanted to do business with China and trade with Hong Kong and China. So we're there for 2 years. And
now that's a good point. Now you then went to work in the corporate world for a while, and then you transitioned over to a small business in Colorado. Now, in the corporate world, I have to ask you, what was it that you did there?
Well, in Hong Kong for 2 years, I worked for international trading companies, basically the manufacturing business in China. And the famous company, Walmart and Sam's Club, they had a international buying office based in Hong Kong. So I was a corporate manager reporting to President directly, and he sent me to China every week for halftime, leave my 2 little children at home to a Filipino maid to supervise 3 buying offices. And because I grew up in mainland China and fluent in English and bicultural, and so I went there, basically work with the vendors. I have never seen so many factories in my entire life. And I went to shoe stores, clothing stores, and hardware stores, like where they make toys. I basically can recognize, that some toys that were made in China, like all the toys they sold that time in Walmart. We actually made them in China and inspect the products. So my company that I work for basically doing factory certifications and the product inspections on behalf of Walmart buyers.
Okay. Now you then moved to Colorado, and if I'm reading this correctly, you became an entrepreneur and you opened up your own business. So
I was not just jumping to Colorado, open my business. I come back from Hong Kong for 2 years, got actually another corporate project manager job in telecom company in Inglewood, Colorado. Then got laid off after 2 years. It was a bad time to work for telecom company and got laid off. And that feeling was so bad. I got a pink slip, was asked to pack and get out of door. And I come home so unhappy and depressed. And I swear to myself, I'm going to be working for myself. I always want to be self-created entrepreneur and to make money. That just pushed me into it earlier because my kids are still small, got a big house, mortgage to pay.
Right.
But I told my husband, I said, I cannot do this anymore. I'm going to start my own business. You have to bring home the money. We will cut expenses. We will be frugal. And my husband said, okay. So we bought this house, actually planned on just one person's salary just in case one gets laid off. I guess that was smart. So we could actually afford this house and not get kicked out. I started my own business, and at the beginning doing Chinese business consulting and trading and training. But Denver did not have that much business for me. I did not make much money. It was not profitable for about, 8 years. It was an ad hoc project. But in those 8 years, I sure learned a lot about politics.
Okay, now what was your business? What was your business at the time?
It was a consulting, right? And consulting and trade, and I was a home mom, so I got all my kids into charter school. I become involved with charter school, HOA board. Later, I even went to state capitol, become an intern for a Republican representative, joint budget chief. So I was interested in learning all kind of stuff, and but my business wasn't so profitable. And so later, when the housing market crashed, I jumped into real estate investing, and that was proven to be our best investment. My husband and I did it ourselves. So we buy rentals and foreclosures and rented them out and have cash flow. And that's what I do now. I still work at home, manage all rental properties, and pay the bills and pay myself salaries. And I loved it because this gave me free time to learn about the country and the politics, become political active. Because what happens that I wanted to learn about American grassroots self-governance democracy.
Okay.
So that's the best place to start is HOA.
So you built upon everything. The business, being an entrepreneur, informed you in terms of politics. You already went to the country that you admired because you read a pocket constitution. You felt that you could be your actual true self here in the United States. And I'm guessing that the things that you learned, because you had to meet a payroll, you had to meet a budget, you had to learn how to manage a business. And my guess would be that all of that up to that point informed you as to, you know what, I bet I have something to offer in terms of politics. Folks, we're listening to Lily Tang Williams on the Berserk Bobcat Saloon here at the SHR Media Network. We're going to go to a break, and we're going to come back, and then I'm going to ask Lily, because it sounds like it's just about time to do this. She made a really significant change, and that involved politics. So, folks, hang on. We're going to be right back with Lily Tang Williams. Be a little break here, and you're listening to the SHR Media Network, the Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American maggots won't. BZ is fundamentally changing America one diaper at a time. Just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, where the speech is free, but the drinks are not. The Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night, commencing at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, where pushback is a requisite art form in and of itself. Let your ossicles be truly liberated when you listen to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon, only on SHR Media Network. No ferrets were harmed in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
This is Sam on SHR Media. You can listen to my new show starting on Tuesdays in January. Get my perspective on national politics, a conservative's perspective on California politics, the latest in the war on terror, all of that and a lot more here on Tuesdays at SHR Media. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Sam_SHR Media.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch River Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHRmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
In a world controlled by corrupt politicians, a team of ordinary men emerge from the ashes to give voice to the voiceless, hope to the hopeless, clues to the clueless. Sackheads Sean, Sackheads Clint, and Sackheads BZ. The Sackheads Radio Show every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern on SHRmedia.com. Watch on YouTube, Facebook, and the High Plains Pundit Network. The best in late-night conservative talk, the Sackheads Radio Show, only on the SHR Media Network.
Go ahead, I'll say it
again. Some of the best A-roll is going to be B-roll.
Like, what are you talking about?
Just the last question they cut a couple seconds.
Yeah, I'm a freaking artist. I can't just come up with this shit off the top of my head. Are you freaking kidding me right now?
Good point. Exactly right.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint, and I'm with Sackhead Sean, Sackhead BZ. No communists allowed on the SHR Media Network.
Damn straight, mister.
Back to the show.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Folks, you are in fact listening to the SHR Media Network. It's the bloviating Zeppelin in the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. It's Thursday, the year of our Lord, November 30th, 2017. We've been talking to Lily Tang Williams, who ran for the U.S. Senate out of Colorado in 2016 as a libertarian. And we're back. Now, Lily, you were nominated as a candidate by the Libertarian Party of Colorado in March of 2014 to run for the State of Representatives in District 44, and then you decided to run as the 2016 Colorado Libertarian nominee for the U.S. Senate. Now, you weren't elected, but I'll wager that you learned some really very important things from that. What were some of those?
I learned how hard it is to be a third-party candidate. It's very difficult, and I actually, whenever I was given opportunity, I would show up and talk to people about my messages, my stories, why I'm worried about America. People loved me. They They liked me. They give me big hands. But they all say, oh, Lily, you are running a libertarian candidate. And they won't invite you to all the major debates. So that my exposure to the public was very limited. But thank goodness, Colorado has very easy ballot access laws, so I could easily get on the ballot no matter what I wanted to run. So it was easy. It's just they want to keep me out of debate. The media will not pay attention to you. The press will not. I did manage to get on lots of radios and lots of actually newspaper interviews because I was very active. I was also very strategic. I teamed up with the Green Party nominee last year. He and I did 5 college campus tours together.
There you go.
The major parties will not join us. They will not join us. So we say we're going to take our message. You know, Green Party, Libertarian Party, we really have lots of differences in terms of our philosophies. But the thing is, though, we have a common ground. We both were 30-party candidates.
Yep.
So, and most students who show up are from the Green Party side. Actually, I'm used to be outnumbered all the time in my town hall meetings, but that did not stop me. I was always polite. I had a very thick skin. I answered tough questions. I tried to persuade people with my personal stories. Actually, I did swing some students over from a green side. You know, they told me on Facebook that they and their families voted for me. I think that's the best way. You go out, you just, since I don't talk like politicians, people normally like that, and they truly believe I'm just genuine, authentic person who will always tell the truth. And I use personal stories. It's very touching, very moving, and trying to persuade people on their different opinions. I think a lot of people on the left do identify problems correctly, just their approaches are wrong, how they want to solve our problems. They want to use more government. And I tell them, I'm so scared and afraid of big government. That's not a solution to solve our problems. That can get our country into more deep trouble.
That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. That's the perfect transition for this. This is the reason I asked you to be on tonight. Now that we know something about your background, your history, your life, I want to bring us to today. Now, I wrote a post on November 15th, and it was called Millennials, Communism, and Freedom. What I'd like to do is read some of that because I really want your reaction and your thoughts to it. And it started here from the Washington Times. There was an article that said, the headline was, and I still can't believe, well, yes, I can believe it. It said, millennials would rather live in socialist or communist nations than under capitalism, so says a poll. This troubling turn highlights widespread historical illiteracy in American society. The majority of millennials would prefer to live in a socialist, communist, or fascist nation rather than a capitalistic one, according to a new poll. 58% of the up-and-coming generation opted for one of the three systems compared to 42% who said that they were in favor of capitalism. The most popular socioeconomic order was socialism, with 44% support. Communism and fascism received 7% support each. I find that absolutely stunning.
I saw that numbers, actually. My sponsor, actually, victims of communism Monroe Foundation, who actually pays me to travel around the country, gave college students talks precisely because our kids today are the victims of government propaganda and indoctrination of the schools.
Yes.
They even don't know. They don't know what really socialism, capitalism, communism is about. They really don't know much.
No, that's why your story absolutely resonates. And again, I say that's why I had you on tonight, because you didn't just watch what happened. This society in China, communist society, affected you markedly to the point where you decided you had to leave China to really be involved in your freedoms. And yet these are the same people, these new people with their historical illiteracy, basically. The new generations are saying, you know what, this freedom stuff, not so good. I really espouse socialism and communism. It's an absolutely upside down event. And again, like I said, that's why I had you on.
Thank you, Mark. Actually, the reason I do the college tour because I see those. I love those kids.
Yes.
I see them as victims of indoctrination like I was for so many years in China. I did not know anything better. If you give me a test when I first came to this country, I will be statist. So think about it. I was indoctrinated all my life. How many years took me to get rid of it? It's another 20 years in this country to get rid of it. I did not know, that's why I wasn't politically active for so many years. Thank goodness I married to an American husband who actually is a libertarian heart. He gave me other books to read. He said, Lily, you were fighting against your government, but you did not know what you were fighting for. And you were statist. You want government to provide solutions. I said, what other solutions? Then he told me to read some other books, to listen to those history facts that I was lied to by Chinese government. I had to read economics. I had to read Ayn Rand, Atlas Shrugged. I had to start over in this country to learn. If you were indoctrinated all your life, it took a lifetime to reverse it. I saw those college students as somebody like old me. That's why I wanted to go to lots of campuses, look at them in the eyes, their faces, and tell my story. I have this student actually told that the student leader group to say, Lily has completely changed my view on communism, socialism.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent.
And he's active with the student group called the Turning Point USA, conservative libertarian student group. They are the one who told me, Lily, great job. He came over to join our activity and told us he really has changed after you talk. I made him to think about 2 or 3 weeks. Then he came back to reach out to this group. So I think that by telling personal stories, not lecture them, not condemn them, demonize them, it is good for students just to open their mind and eyes to listen to somebody who have lived through it. What's like, how poor we were, how oppressed we were. We could not even date, and we could not have a privacy. We were tracked like animals, and even today, we citizens could not have a self-defense. They cannot. They were totally disarmed, And I also give them examples. Look, you want more government, and you want more socialism. Look what the country is going down now. Yep. Lots of students don't know what's going on in the government today. I tell them what's going on in Washington. I say, look, and we have been calling for people to call U.S. senators to stop this bill called the S-2046, and same as the House, HR 4174. Those two bills, guess what they're for?
Okay.
They're trying to establish a national data tracking system for all these citizens. It's not more damaging than your social security number they gave to you at the birth. But they want to track you. They want to share your data without your consent. And we are trying to call people to say, call them, stop them. Those college students have no idea what those politicians elect are doing to them.
Okay, stop for just a second. I think this is a really important point, and I'm glad that you brought it up. For everyone here again that would be interested in researching this, tell us again, please, the numbers on those bills so that they can go to their favorite search engine and find out more information.
Before Thanksgiving, the House, U.S. House, passed this bill called HR 4174.
4174,
This
okay.
bill was passed by only voice vote. They suspended rules to call out, ask people to have, roll call votes. So which representative voted yes or no. No, they did a voice vote. So 2/3 probably passed this. And now the Senate has a similar bill, twin bill, called S, as the U.S. Senate S, 2046. And this bill, if they pass, that means they are going to establish a national tracking data system. If President Trump signs it, it will become law. It will be just like Chinese government track you from birth to death. I just got rid of Chinese government tracking me because I come to this country at the age of 24, and now they're doing this to American citizens. How many American citizens even know about it? They were busy for holidays. They always do this to us without public debate, without enough time for input from the public, and they wanted to rush through, pushed by special interests. All those corporations, non-profit special interests want to have data to do research, to access you. If you look at my Facebook page, and this article wrote by Choosing American Education, they listed every data, for example, in your FAFSA, which is a free application for federal student aid. Every data you put there will go to this national database and shared by all federal agencies, all these special interest corporations, without your consent, without you even being aware of it.
That's why I love you. I love you, Lily, because you've got a fire in your gut. You've got a fire in your belly, and you're motivated because of your past and what you've seen and what you've done. There was an article that just came out recently in the Wall Street Journal, and it was titled 100 Years of Communism. And this is what communism has done. The Bolshevik plague that began in Russia was it was the greatest catastrophe in human history. Armed Bolsheviks seized the Winter Palace in Petrograd, now St. Petersburg, 100 years ago this week, and arrested ministers of Russia's provisional government. They set in motion a chain of events that would kill millions and inflict a near-fatal wound on Western civilization. Folks, that's communism for you right there. In a 1920 speech to the Komsomol, Lenin in Russia said that communists subordinate morality to the class struggle. Good was anything that destroyed the old exploiting society, exactly what you experienced, Lily, and helped to build a new communist society. Does that sound familiar? Hell yes, it sounds familiar.
Yes, 100 years of communism, 100 million people killed. Our students do not know the history. They don't even know the numbers. They don't. That's why those kids, they are looking for a political home. If we don't get to them until they become very, very hardcore statists, we will lose this country. That's why I'm fighting. I'm fighting for selfish reasons too, because I have 3 children, and they're going to have children. I have no place to go. China is still ruled by Communist Party, one-party dictatorship system. I have to fight in this country.
Yes, you should
I'm going to dedicate rest of my life to tell my story.
Yes.
And to encourage people to care about their freedom now before they lose it.
You should be motivated to do that. Everyone in America should be motivated to do that, because if this country goes down, the rest of the planet goes down with it. Make no mistake, without a strong United States, then you're going to see communism and other dictators begin to flourish in the lack of strength. Sean and I were talking about this the other day.
Well, that's why when I go out, Mark, I try to unite the people. I tell people all tyranny government like to divide people, divide and conquer. Look what they did to China. 5 red, 5 black classes.
Identity politics.
Yeah, I don't care about those students, either left, right, or middle, or what. It's like we all are Americans. We are the other 99%. What kind of country do we want? And do you really want, like, for example, Chinese today, 1.3 billion Chinese are totally controlled by 7 most powerful men, not elected. The Politburo Standing Committee, 7 men. Make all the important decisions over 1.3 billion people.
Yes.
Can you imagine that? But in the United States, we have a so-called, of course, representatives represent us. But look, something's wrong. Because those people go to Washington, they stay there forever, and they are in the pocket of special interest. They don't even talk to us who are regular people without say, hey, pay to play, pay to see them or something. And they have tons of money. They always get elected by lying and moving their lips, and they don't deliver. And look at our national debt, and look at this national data system, and look at what's going on in this country. It's like people are so busy fighting among themselves. We lose aspect, we lose the perspective of what is more important here. Don't you think of this losing your privacy, being tracked all your life, make this country look just like a communist China? And they use security as a reason. Oh, more transparency, more security, good for public. I don't believe those. Those are the same thing they tell me all my life in China.
Yes, that's the point. Bingo. That's the point. That's why I wanted you to have on. You've seen both systems. And the reason you left that system for the United States is because you experienced it. And you knew how repressive that particular system was. The funny thing is, each new potential dictator all around the planet seems to think that he can, do socialism or communism better than the last guy, despite the fact that history proves people become trapped, repressed, or just outright killed under these regimes. But here's the thing that I find even more distressing. Students in universities all across the United States are becoming increasingly more hostile to free speech. Now, there was an article that just came out from another study, and I'd like to read this to you and get your response. We've got about another 8 minutes to go in the show. The headline is, "A Chilling Study Shows How Hostile College Students Are Towards Free Speech." Here's the problem with suggesting that upsetting speech warrants safe spaces or otherwise conflating mere words with physical assault. If speech is violence, then violence becomes a justifiable response to speech. 1/5 of undergrads now say in college around the United States it's acceptable to use physical force to silence a speaker who makes, quote, offensive or hurtful statement. That's absolutely stunning. That the freedoms that so many Americans died for all across the world, these people now are willing to give that up. And that's why you left China to come here. And how disturbing must it be to you to see that what you left in China, people are advocating actively for now?
Well, it is sad. It's very frustrating. I go to tell students, we are human beings. College campus are supposed to be the best environment place for free exchange of ideas, expressions, and discussions, and debate. And that's why we're different from other animals. We have a head on our shoulder. That head is supposed to be have the freedom to reason, to think. When you use force to silence somebody, that person cannot think. If you point a gun at me, I cannot think. And you want the cultural revolution come to U.S.? You want to people die because they even have bad thoughts, not just free speech, even free thoughts? I mean, are those constitutional rights? And if college students don't understand the severe consequences of silence, suppress free speech, then how about they look at their future? What happened to all of people like me in communist countries under tyranny? How did we get there? How even did we get there? It's because also you all just, people were silent because another side were violent. And when majority people become silent, then you actually are giving up the freedom. So when we face tyranny, when we face this kind of oppression, and the silent majority, I'm sure there are lots of college students do not agree with those really extremists, but they are silenced. They need to stand up. They need to say we have a right to exercise free speech. And some professors and administrators need to also stand up. But I can tell you some good news. I went to San Jose State University, sponsored by Young American for Liberty and a history professor. The history professor actually is a Democrat. He went against his department to host my talk because he thinks his students need to know the truth. And he worked with other professors in economics and political science and tell them to urge his students come to listen to my talk. And we'll give them an extra credit. I had 125 students, packed house in the classroom.
Great.
At the San Jose State University, you will see them there left, but it doesn't matter. They were listening to me. They were engaged. Their eyes were focused on my face and my pictures. They were not playing their phone. I think this is a good thing. I see people will stand up and push back. So we have to encourage that. Of course, I can never be silenced in this country. I would rather die than to be silenced because I know what it's like to live without freedom.
That's it. You know, is it for all of this that basically 500,000 Americans died in the Civil War so that we can become slaves of the government? Do the 1.5 million American deaths during service in wartime mean nothing? Do we have to do it all over again? Do we have to experience historical Alzheimer's? Do we have to go out of our way to prove George Santayana was correct again? And he said, those who don't remember the past are doomed to repeat it. Communism, socialism, they've been tried numerous times. You lived under it. It's been tried dozens of times in dozens of countries in the past 2 centuries. It always fails. Every new dictator thinks they can do it right because the person in the past just didn't do it right. But when they fail...
They should see how many people were starving to death, in China during the mass famine. Of course, we were told it was 3 years natural disasters. It was Mao's central planning policies. People were eating dead children. They swapped children to eat in my hometown, Sichuan province.
Bingo.
Because their children, they were starving to death and kids dead, and the parents could not eat their own kids. Then they swapped kids to eat. How horrible is that? Students should really learn about the history. That of course I try my best, go to school, show my old pictures, and show those Cultural Revolution pictures, and they just result in a lot more questions from them. I'm just hoping I put some seeds into their head. They're thinking what I say. They will go do their own research. Maybe in a few years' time that the seed will grow. We cannot give up. Those young people are the ones who are going to be control the country's future.
Thank you.
So we have to win them over now.
What happens is that these systems, these countries, they fail and they kill hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of their own countrymen. And you are a cautionary tale today, Lily Tang Williams. Unfortunately, it's time for us to go. All I have to say is, folks, we've been speaking to Lily Tang Williams. She has a remarkable and an inspiring story, and she is a remarkable and inspiring person herself. So I got to say, thank you, Lily. It's perfect timing. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me tonight. I very much appreciate your time and your insight. And I have to say, you have an open invitation. Anytime you want to come back here in the saloon, you just let me know. Everybody loves you
so much,
when they
Mark.
talk to you.
I appreciate your invitation. Great to talk to you.
Thank you very much. I can't believe what a great, great speaker Lily Tang Williams is. And I consider myself very lucky to have acquired her for the show tonight. I hope that everybody who hasn't heard her before learned something. I learned more. Her insight gives you want to do communism, kids? You want to do socialism, kids? Listen to her. She lived it, and she had to leave it, because that's reality. And she just brought reality home just for us.
Monsieur has been locked!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I say thank you for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon right here on the SHR Media Network. You want to contact me, you'll find me on Twitter at BZep. And you can go to my blog at bloviatingzeppelin.net. My original intro music is by Possessed Tranquility. You can listen to them at reverbnation.com. You want to send me an evil message? You got to change your evil ways, baby. Send it to bz at shrmedia.com. Promotional consideration by Lockheed Martin, Skunkworks, and the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. And also to Pratt & Whitney Engines. It's thrust you can trust. Thanks to my also very personal KC-135 Kettle 1 refueling team with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. Yes? Yes. Thank you ever so kindly for listening tonight. Thank you for being involved in the chat room. Thanks for listening in podcast. God bless. Thanks to Lily Tang Williams. You folks take care. You be safe. Have a great weekend. Thank you. And good night.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night.
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.